Our reading for today is from Ernest Holmes. He says, "It is certain that none of us receive as much benefit from this science as we might. We do not permit our consciousness to range in the field of greater possibilities. We must learn to loose our consciousness. Nothing is too good to be true. The kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of harmony, is already an ever-present reality. But as far as we are concerned, it waits to be perceived, received, and only as much good can come to us as we can mentally receive. We must increase our receptivity, continuously extend and expand our comprehension. No matter how much good we experience today, we should expect more tomorrow. Expectancy always speeds progress. This is done by reminding our imagination that the field with which it deals is limitless, and mind is the creator and sustainer. The mind is infinite, ever available, and always is responsive to us."
Perfect. So I see that a few more people have arrived, so welcome to those of you who have just arrived. And the theme for the month of September is spiritual mind treatment, the feeling. The feeling. So we're going to really talk about that today. And my talk title is Loose the Consciousness. Now, you don't have to raise your hands or out yourself or anything, but how many people, when they first saw or heard this talk title, kind of scratched your head? Like, loose? Is that a typo? Did she spell it right? Does she mean loose the consciousness, or does she mean lose the consciousness? What the heck is she going to talk about this morning? Now, if you did, I'm imagining that you're in pretty good company because of all the laughter that's occurring in the room right here, and because of the fact that I know that in truth, I kind of scratched my own head in the beginning when I first initially read it. Now, throughout the year, we have joined many other Centers for Spiritual Living in bringing forward the theme, the 2018 theme of the year, and that theme is 100 Years of Science of Mind. Now, the monthly theme and the talk title ideas and the supporting information come out of the wisdom of Ernest Holmes' book, Living the Science of Mind. So every Sunday since the beginning of the year, I have sat with the talk title and with the supporting pages in the book. Now, sometimes there's a plethora of words around that talk title, and sometimes there is very few. Now, either way, I would always sit with that, and then I always support it by researching other resources, such as other books or other religions or other spiritual teachers. I also search through all kinds of YouTubes and TED Talks and other electronic sources. I spend time just thinking about my own life, and most importantly, I spend time in meditation, listening for divine inspiration. So this Sunday, this particular talk title was absolutely no different. And as I was preparing, I found that there was very little in any of those resources around this idea of loose the consciousness. You know how you just get on your computer and you're wanting to look something up, so you type something into the browser window, like loose the consciousness. And then Google comes back and it says something like, you wanted to know more about loose the consciousness. Did you mean lose the consciousness? And I'm thinking to myself, no, Google, I did not mean lose the consciousness. I meant loose the consciousness. And so then I would re-click what I had originally asked for and then watched as Google decided it was going to give me whatever they wanted to give me anyway. You've been there. I know. So you can imagine my surprise and my excitement when I actually found a YouTube that was called Loose the Consciousness. I was beside myself. So I decided I needed to share it with you today.
Of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, now and always, and to the end.
This is the minister. No one was hurt in the making of this video. So, right, great title. Not so much assistance with my talk. And despite all that dramatic music, which gave it kind of a spiritual air, I think they spelled it wrong. Now, in today's reading, Ernest Holmes said, "It is certain that none of us receive as much benefit from this science as we might, that we do not permit our consciousness to range in the field of greater possibilities. We must learn to loose our consciousness." Now, what I hear in this part of the reading is that we are not using the power that is greater than we are to its fullest capacity. We are not drawing upon it to the extent that we could draw upon. We are not creating from unlimited possibilities. Now, if that is true, then we must be creating from limited possibility or from a consciousness of lack. And if that is true for any of us, individually or collectively, then what we are being asked of in this reading is to loose the consciousness. Now, in this invitation, the word loose is used as a verb, and it means to set free, to let go of. Let go of what, you might ask? The consciousness that is no longer serving us. We place upon ourselves the limits that we experience in our lives. Our words, our thoughts, our actions limit what we express out into the world if we place or keep ourselves in really narrowly defined boxes or narrowly defined contexts for living. The invitation is to let go of old thoughts, old feelings, old beliefs that keep us small, that keep us limited. Neil Donald Walsh says, "Life begins at the end of your comfort zone." So the invitation today is to really step out of our comfort zones and to step into the discomfort of uncertainty. Sounds scary, I know that it is, but we can never right now, in this moment, know what that has in store for us. We can never know what that uncertainty holds for us. The invitation is for each of us to really get imaginative, to unravel new layers of our existence and to really not feed our fear that we will make a mistake or that we will fail. The truth is that there is a lesson behind every misstep, a lesson behind every stumble and every fall. And if we take a risk and step out of our comfort zone, we will be able to tap into that lesson. If we do not, we will not. If we do not loose our consciousness, we will never learn that particular lesson. So the invitation is to be open at the top, to think outside of the box, and to embrace the vastness of possibility that is all around us. It is everywhere. Now, he also said that we must learn to loose our consciousness, and that the way that this is done is by reminding our imagination that the field with which it deals is limitless. That mind is the creator and the sustainer, that mind is infinite, ever available, and always responsive to us. So what I hear in this part of the reading is that we are being encouraged to raise our consciousness, to keep our imagination on that which is limitless, the divine, to keep our attention and intention on that which is the creator and sustainer of everything that there is. Stephanie Sorensen, in her book, The Sacred Continuum, says, when our mind is constantly open to the infinite mind, we are inspired in all our ways, in and between our prayers. Our every thought, word, and deed is imbued with wisdom and compassion. We perceive the wholeness of life, including ourselves. We become an emissary of love and ambassador of peace, a messenger of hope, a purveyor of wisdom, and an instrument of healing, because all life is one. An emissary of love and ambassador of peace, a messenger of hope, a purveyor of wisdom, and an instrument of healing. Wow, I want to be that. Perhaps there are others of you here this morning that are saying that exact same thing to yourselves. Perhaps there are others of you here this morning that are sitting here wondering, am I that? Or who do I have to be in order to be that? Now, what I believe that she is describing is someone with a higher consciousness, someone who is spiritually awake, spiritually aware, or spiritually enlightened. Now, these are three terms that are often spoke about, but not always completely or fully understood. While recognized as significant and important to our lives, they are three states of consciousness that not everybody can even agree upon when they try to define them. So they kind of remain a little bit of a mystery. But I kind of think that's fun about them. Now, however, in an article called The Symptoms of Higher Consciousness, Dr. Stephen Taylor describes some characteristics that most people actually do agree upon. So I share some of those characteristics today in four different arenas. A new world, a new self, a new mind, and a new life. A new world. The clearest way in which spiritual awakening manifests itself is in terms of our perception and our experience of the world. When we are spiritually awake, we see the world with the innocence of a child. We see and are struck by the beauty, the wonder, and the brilliance of everything that is around us. We are awed by the things that most people don't even pay attention to. The world is brighter and more fascinating and amazing than we had ever imagined. Within this higher consciousness, we experience a shift in our perception of time, a shift in our orientation to it. The present moment takes on a whole new significance, and the past and the future become much less important to us. We spend less and less time ruminating in the past or worrying about the future. Within this consciousness, we are acutely aware of the power and presence of the divine within everything. There is an aliveness, a spiritual energy that is within everything and that shines out from within, really adding to the depth of awe and amazement in everything that is around us, in everything we see and everything that we experience. We sense that the world is a benevolent place in which harmony, peace, joy, love, aliveness, and connectedness is the norm. Not something out of the extraordinary, but the norm. A new self. When we are spiritually awake and aware, our inner life changes. There is a shift in how we feel inside of ourselves. And sometimes that shift is so profound that we might feel like we actually have a brand new identity, as if we have been reborn. The shift typically happens slowly over time as our old self is remodeled or remolded, but it can also happen, this shift can also happen in a really abrupt way or a really dramatic way, in an instantaneous way. With this consciousness comes a dramatic reduction in the clutter and the chatter in our minds. This chatter often comes with a lot of negative self-talk, right? That talk that Cindy talks about, say the worst things about ourselves, things that no one else would ever say. But when we have a reduction in the chatter itself, then we have a corresponding reduction in the negative self-talk. And we end up experiencing ourselves and our interior as a much kinder and gentler inner experience. Within this consciousness, we lose the sense of separation that we have had around us for so long. This sense of otherness between ourselves and others just fades away. We are no longer separate from the world around us, but we actually recognize and experience ourselves as an integral part of the world's unfolding. This shows up along a continuum from feeling strongly connected to other human beings, to being strongly connected to other living things, to being strongly connected to the whole of the natural world, and finally being strongly connected with a deep sense of unity to the spiritual force back of all of it. A powerful sense of oneness, that not only are we in a state of unity with all things, but that we actually literally are all things. There is only one of us here. With this new awareness of our unity, this deepening of our awareness of our unity, we experience empathy, compassion, and love like we have never, ever felt it before. Within this consciousness, while we may not live each and every moment of every single day within a state of uninterrupted bliss, we do generally feel more content and are more joy-filled than most other people. This can actually arise out of the fact that we are spending less time in the past and less time in the future. There is a freedom from the worry, from the doubt, from the negativity, from the fear that may have plagued us before, and we are now free to really experience harmony, peace, and joy. In general, we experience an overall feeling of well-being. A new mind. When we are more spiritually awake and aware, how we think about ourselves, about the world, and about each other, both individually and collectively, begins to shift. When we are still asleep, we have a strong tendency to label ourselves. And that labeling can be in terms of our religion or our race or our culture or our political affiliation or our careers or our accomplishments or our sexuality or our gender identity. When we are more spiritually awake, we no longer have the need or the desire to define ourselves by anything outside of ourselves. We no longer have the need or the desire to label ourselves in order to become part of something greater than ourselves. We already are part of something greater than ourselves. We are global citizens of planet Earth, connected to everything and everyone in ways that can never, ever be broken. Within this consciousness, we find that we have a wider perspective, a universal outlook. While we may still at times experience the struggles and the challenges that life sometimes presents, we are not preoccupied with our personal issues or concerned to the exclusion of everything else and everyone else. We have a greater awareness of how everything flows together and are aware of how our choices and our actions affect others or affect the planet itself. We tend to be more ethical and responsible. We tend to be kinder and gentler, extending our benevolence to everything and everyone without judgment or discrimination. Within this consciousness, our appreciation and gratitude quotients just soar. We experience appreciation for all of our blessings and express gratitude for all of our experiences, no matter how big or small, no matter how long that we have been experiencing them. Because we don't take life for granted, we are and remain open and available to the new or to the unfamiliar, inviting new people, new places, new experiences into our lives every day. A new life. When we are more spiritually aware and awake, our outward expression shifts. Who we are being in the world changes as a reflection of our inner changes. We tend to become more altruistic, with a strong impulse to alleviate the suffering of others. We have an impulse to serve our families, to serve our friends, our communities, our country, or the world. We have an impulse to contribute to the world in any way that we possibly can. Now, this feeling may show up as our purpose or our mission, and we feel compelled to bring it forward into the world. Within this consciousness, we have a newfound ability to simply just be. We relish our alone time, our quiet time, our time of solitude and stillness. When we are still asleep, we feel like we always have to be moving, like we always have to be doing something, like we always have to be searching for distractions and different activities to participate in. When we're more awake, we don't have to be doing something just to be doing something. We really can appreciate having the time to do nothing but simply enjoy the solitude and the stillness. Within this consciousness, we experience a major shift from accumulation to contribution. We no longer have to bolster our sense of self-worth by the things that we have, or by keeping up with the Joneses, or by gathering power and fame and fortune. There's a shift from what can I get from life to what can I give to life. Within this consciousness, we begin to powerfully step into the truth of who we are as individualized expressions of God. We no longer feel the need to follow social convention or to please people, but instead feel the need to authentically be ourselves. We have greater confidence in our choices and can have the ability to stand in them in the face of conflicting opinion. We live our own lives according to our own inner wisdom, our own inner guidance, rather than being swayed by what's happening in the world or by doing what's expected of us by others outside of ourselves. Because of this, our relationships deepen and become more fulfilling. So the invitation today is to loose the filter of our past and to see the world with the awe, the wonder, and the innocence of a child. To loose the need to constantly ruminate about the past and worry about the future and stand powerfully in the now moment. To loose the constant clutter and chatter of our minds and to find the peace of inner stillness. To lose the belief in separation, allowing ourselves to really feel the unity that we have with everything and everyone. To loose the pull that we have to conform, and to find a way to speak with our own authentic voice and to authentically live as ourselves in the world. To loose the need to constantly be doing something and allow ourselves time in each day to just simply be. So the invitation today is to loose, for each of us, to loose the consciousness of anything unlike the divine being that we truly are, and to step powerfully into being an emissary of love and ambassador of peace, a messenger of hope, a purveyor of wisdom, and an instrument of peace, and an instrument of healing for ourselves and for the world. Please repeat after me. I am willing to loose the consciousness that no longer serves me. I am willing to loose the consciousness that no longer serves me. I am willing to step into a more aware and awakened way of being in the world. I am willing to step into a more aware and awakened way of being in the world. And so it is. So it is. Please turn within. In this perfect now moment, with my eyes closed and my attention turned inward, away from the world of form and inward to that place and space that I call God, the spark of the divine that is within me, I am acutely aware of its presence. I know that it is the very essence of peace, of joy, of creativity, of wonder, of abundance, and of unconditional love. I know that I am one with it, that I was created by it. out of itself in a moment of love. I know that right where I am, God is in its fullness. And just as I know that this is true for me, I know that it is true for each and every person here this morning, that each of us is a unique and divine expression of the divine and ambassador of its presence on the planet. And it is from that place of unity, this deep and abiding connection that we have with each other, with life itself, that I speak this word of prayer for each of us this morning, truly knowing that we are spiritual beings having a human incarnation, that within us is imbued everything that we need to experience the life of our dreams, to experience, to create and experience a life that works for everyone. I claim ease and grace for us around stepping into this life, around loosing anything that stands in resistance to us being and expressing our uniqueness, our wholeness, our love, our kindness. Ease and grace around stepping into this life powerfully by loosing the past, by loosing that constant chatter in our minds, by knowing who and whose we are in every single moment of every day, by seeing through the eyes of God the wonder, the majesty, the amazement that is life itself, to recognize the presence of God everywhere that we look, and to allow this awareness to inform our thoughts, our beliefs, our feelings, and our actions, knowing that as we do so, we are kinder and gentler on the inside and kinder and gentler on the outside, sharing this presence of God that we are to everyone we meet, touching lives we don't even know that we are touching. And I'm so grateful to know this truth and to speak these words. So grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that works with mechanical regularity to clothe them in form even as they are spoken. And so I speak them and I release them with love and gratitude and full expectation of their manifestation, letting go and letting God be God. And I invite each of us to anchor this prayer for ourselves and for each other simply by saying, "And so it is, and so it is."